Hey guys, I'm sure you've all heard about this Paris Agreement and how Trump recently pulled out of it, and pretty much everybody's going crazy right now. The left, the right, pretty much everybody, every politician, actor, celebrity, scientist is going berserk, and they're like, climate change is real. We believe in climate change. We got to tell Trump that this exists, and blah blah blah. And there's a difference between, I don't know if he believes in it or not. That's kind of irrelevant at the moment. There's a difference between a bad deal and, believing in climate change. Like, you can believe in climate change, be want to stop it, and just be against signing a terrible deal like he's about to do, because this Paris Agreement does virtually nothing. Like, it will only stop about 1% of the actual, you know, carbon emissions that you need to reduce by like 2100. So it's really going to do absolutely nothing. It's just a huge virtue signal from our politicians to pretend like they're doing something on the matter. But what it's actually just going to do is funnel a lot of money from the first world into the third world. And it's just going to let China and India do whatever they want until 2030. And second of all, there's no actual measures for them to enforce any of this. Like, the most they can do is point their finger and wag and say, shame on you. That's literally the only thing they can do. They have an inspector to go in every 2 years to, see if they're keeping up with agreements. But, that's that doesn't do anything. And like I said, China, India, these people, and a lot of these other countries don't have to do anything until 2030, if they will do anything at all. So the only people who are going to be impacted by this are people in first world countries like Canada, US, you know. So what's going to happen is a lot of our jobs are going to be converted, and then they're going to be sent over to India and China, where they have even less, less restrictions or less regulations on energy, and they're going to be producing it less cleanly than we would be producing it. So you're actually going to be creating more emissions. So it's going to have zero impact, and it's just going to funnel billions upon billions of dollars from our countries into theirs. And whenever you do it through bureaucracy, when you have it through a bunch of government officials, what's going to happen is they're going to hold on to a lot of that money. Some of it's going to go missing along the way. If you expect, the governments and all these people to handle this money legitimately and not, try to, give it to these people or these people, because what they want to do is also fund green energy and put more money in green energy, where, you really should not have governments trying to pick winners and losers in the economy, especially when they're really bad at it. Like, look at Solyndra. That failed pretty quickly, right? It's let the free market let the free market do it, because they're doing a better job of it already. Like, they're already investing billions of dollars to find this, because there's incentive for them to create it, because somebody who finds something that's cheaper than oil or in coal is going to be extremely rich, right? They're going to be multi-billionaires, maybe the first trillionaire. So, right, they have a lot of incentive to create it. And like I said, this has no teeth. They can't do anything. If they're serious about reducing climate change and reducing emissions, they're gonna have to like nuke China and India, like literally. That's what, or we're gonna have to all go back to like vegans and be hunter gatherers to actually like reduce the amount that they want to reduce. And there's a lot of alarmists right now. Like, it's crazy the amount of alarmists. Like, you go on Twitter, it's like, we're all gonna die, the world's gonna end, everything's gonna go to shit. Like, whereas the UN and the Paris agreements even agrees that this isn't gonna do anything. This is gonna do virtually nothing, and they're going on the hopes, the assumption that more stringent policies are going to be taken in the future every few years to curb climate change more. But you know that's just going to put, if everybody signs into this, now you're going to be withholden to this treaty. And you really shouldn't be. You should get out of it before more drastic measures are taken, because who knows what the fuck they're going to do, right? This environmentalism, in my like idea, like what I think is it can be justified for like a lot of violence. Like, this is climate change stuff. Like, even if it's true, like, I can foresee a lot of justification of killing a lot of people because they're like, well, we're all gonna die because the climate's gonna go to shit. We gotta like take out some people. So it's it's really just not a good idea to sign into something like this that really is just going to not really have an impact whatsoever to begin with. But yeah, like if we're listening to people like Al Gore a few years ago, uh, I'm pretty sure like we'd all be dead by now, right? Like his projections in that movie that he made like in like 2001, I forget what it's called, but like I'm pretty sure like California or like Florida was supposed to be like underwater by now. Like they always have to relook at their projections all the time and recalculate them because like predict, projecting the weather or predicting the weather is very difficult. Like they can't even predict the weather 2 days out a lot of the time accurately, and they're assuming they're going to know how to accurately predict it in 100 years. Like one of the things you got to remember too is like a lot of scientists get a lot of grants, they get a lot of money from the government. So you know getting out of the Paris Agreement is going to remove a lot of money from them. So there's definitely a lot of incentive for them to want to stay in it because you know scientists are humans too. They like money, and of course they're going to want to stay in something that gives them more money, whether they completely wholeheartedly believe in it or not. But that's all I pretty much had to say at the moment. And I think what Trump did was good, and I think more countries should lead in his footsteps, like getting out of the TPP and pretty much in Canada too, like with carbon emissions. All these things do very little to help anybody, and they're just going to send a lot of jobs overseas and not actually help our own economies. And maybe they want it that way. Maybe they want us more dependent upon them, and they want to just like send more money to the third world. I don't know why, because a lot of that money they're going to send to the third world is going to be funneled through their governments, and their governments, a lot of these countries, are notoriously corrupt. So if you think that they're going to use this money well, and if you think that you know since there's no actual way to enforce any of this, they're like you're just going to be throwing money away. This is what's going to happen if everybody agrees to this bullshit. And America pulling out hopefully will destroy it completely, and other people will start leaving. Like hopefully it starts a chain of events where everything just ends and nobody else signs up to this, and we can just go along and invest maybe in more nuclear energy and these things that produce like no emissions whatsoever. Just don't put it on a fucking fault line or next to the ocean where a tsunami can hit it, right? We can reduce our emissions in other ways. We don't need to cripple our economies, and it's like we're going to continue using oil and these things anyways. So if we reduce it in our countries, we're just going to be buying it from like China and India and Saudi Arabia anyways. And that they're going to be producing more greenhouse emissions. So, we may as well, produce it here like cleaner, and it would be cheaper, and why not? Let's use our heads instead of our fucking hearts and emotions to be like, buying into all this hysteria. Just calm down, relax, read the actual Paris Agreement, because they admit that's not going to do anything. Like, it's not going to save the environment. This Paris Agreement is not going to do anything. But that's all I pretty much had to say. If you like my content, subscribe and have a great day.